Alright, moving on to our next Patreon request, and it's another three-way crossover, and this one comes from Tom Hibbert, who asked me to do a Uncharted, Lupin III, and the Mummy crossover. And to specify which mummy we're talking about, it's the Brendan Fraser 90s mummy, 90s 2000s era mummy. So let's get started. But before we do, as always, if you guys would like to have a Patreon request done, just hit the link below. Head on over to my Patreon, where you guys get the third tier, and you guys can start sending requests for videos to do here on YouTube. But other than that, yeah, let's get started with the video. And yeah, like I said, let's get started. I'm very scatterbrained today. It's been quite a few days. So yeah. Anyway, so the story begins with, basically the story begins with Lupin, Jagan, and Ishikawa all gathered around, and they're just, talking about, like, a new big score that Lupin has heard about. Lupin basically has heard about that there's something in Egypt, in the deserts, deep in the deserts of Egypt, that could be worth a fortune, that got lost in the 1930s, somewhere in the 1920s, 30s era, and that is the Bracelet of Anubis. The Bracelet of Anubis was this shiny gold bracelet that was said to have mystical properties, and Lupin has seen enough crazy shit to go, you know what, it could be real, but I'm more in it for the gold. And he's like, we're going to set out and find where this came, we're going to set out and find where that bracelet was, because it was said to be lost in the deserts ages ago. So that's what they're planning on doing. However, the problem is another party also wants that bracelet. And that person is Nathan Drake. And him and Sully are kind of talking about, like, the bracelet and what it could mean. So Drake wants it at the same time, but he also is aware that, like, yeah, it got lost ages ago. It got lost decades ago in the desert, deep in the deserts of Egypt. So him and Sully have to, like, chart a plane, get out there, and try to find this bracelet. Now, obviously, the two parties they're not aware that the other one is coming after the same prize, but the thing of it is, thieves kind of know the other one's work. So, keep that in mind. So, when Lupin arrives in Egypt, he's already asking around some contacts. He's already trying to figure out, like, where could this, artifact be? Like, where could the Bracelet of Anubis be? At the same time, there's someone else kind of asking around, and that's Nathan Drake. And when Nathan and Arsène Lupin lock eyes while they're asking around the same clubs and bars for any kind of information, they immediately lock eyes and are like... they immediately just start blasting each other, because they're like, fuck, it's you. Because like I said, thieves of such caliber are aware of each other. So... Sully's like, what the hell's going on? Why are we starting shooting shit? And he's like, it's Arsène Lupin. And he's like, what? That guy ain't real? He's like, you tell me, he just shot at me. And sure enough, Lupin is like, so, you're Nathan Drake, right? I've heard about you. Some kind of, like, Indiana Jones wannabe. He's like, why does everyone say that? God damn. And then Lupin realizes in his head, wait, Lupin has two friends. Oh shit! And he just rolls out. He's hiding behind like a bar, and in comes Ishikawa with his sword and just like slices through it. And he and Nathan's like, "Oh fuck! It's that swordsman he's got. And where's the gangster?" Jagan, and I know I'm mispronouncing. It's pronounced like in the English dub they pronounce it like 5 different things, but like Jagan, and Sully get into a shootout between the two of them, because that's what would totally happen. You gotta have those two grizzled old gangsters shooting at one another, in a shootout and meeting one another. But unfortunately, their contact takes off, their respective contacts take off, leading to Lupin and Drake chasing after them to try to figure out what's going on, but they've already fucked off, and they already sold the information to someone else, someone that Lupin knows about, Fujiko. And Fujiko's already on her way to the distant deserts of where the Bracelet of Anubis is. So Lupin and Drake, escape one another. They basically are like, they get away from one another. Now it's like a race to find the Bracelet of Anubis. So the two groups take separate forms of transportation. You have Sully and Drake, who basically they steal a plane and head out to these coordinates, whereas Lupin and the others, they steal a jeep and start driving there, and Lupin is keeping a close eye on the skies because he saw a plane. He's like, that's Drake, that's definitely got to be Drake. So they've driven deep into what was the oasis of Uncharted, and Fujiko's ahead of everyone else. Unfortunately, it's buried under a lot of desert. So Fujiko is like, she's already at the finish line waiting for Lupin and Drake, and she's like, gentlemen, we are here to, work together in order to to find out, to find our gold. Enough gold to split with everybody. And he's like, I love you. Lupin's like, I love you, but I know better. But in order to get the bracelet, everyone's just digging, starts digging, excavating the deserts of Uncharted, until eventually they wake something up, and it ain't the bracelet of Osiris. It's the body of Imhotep, who was dragged down into the depths of the temple of Uncharted that was home to the Scorpion King. So Imhotep, now awoken and his body rotted, looks for souls to consume, and it's not pretty. So they immediately like, oh shit, mummy. But haven't we and Lupin's like, if you've seen one mummy, you've seen them all. And Drake's like, how many fucking mummies have you seen? He's like, I'd say about 5. So they're already like trying to shoot and kill this monster as it's like just trying to kill it, like just keeps trying to come at them. And Imhotep is already like pissed off and confused because he's like woken up like over almost 100 years since he was pulled down to the underworld. Not to mention the love of his life, Anaxanamun, backstabbed him. So he's kind of pissed off about that. But yeah, so the Imhotep, now that he's awakened, the first thing he's going to do is try to like regain his power through draining souls. But there are some moments like Ishikawa like comes at him with his sword, tries to cut him in half. Imhotep like rebuilds himself, and what happens is like Drake and Lupin have to be like, well shit, like do you have an idea? He's like, I got a really bad one. So Drake and Lupin like take out some explosives that they were both carrying, and like they offer themselves up as bait to Imhotep, who tries to come at them and like suck out their souls, Evil Dead style. And they both like take out a thing of one with C4, the other with a stick of dynamite, just jam it into Imhotep's eyes. And he's like trying to desperately get it out, and he's like, let's see you come back from this, bitch. Boom, blow him up, and then proceed to like quickly grab all the body parts as he's like trying to reform himself, and then dump the body parts out into different, seal them in like different boxes, which then Lupin takes half and Drake takes the other half, and he's like, I don't know if that bracelet was worth it, but it was a hell of an adventure. I don't want to see you again, Drake. And he's like, same to you, Lupin. Let's just dump these into separate parts of the ocean and never speak of it again. So that's how they divide off, but they make both respective pit stops to the Pacific and Atlantic Oceans, respectively, to dump off the pieces of Imhotep to keep him at least for a couple 100 years from regenerating. However, unfortunately, unbeknownst to either of the guys, Fujiko already took the bracelet during the chaos. Like, she already found it and has the bracelet for herself to sell on the black market. And that's where the story ends. So there you go, guys. That is another 3-ray crossover, and that one comes from Tom Hibbert, who I'd like to thank for their continued for this Patreon request and continued patronage. And you guys tell me in the comments below, what did you guys think of it? Comment below, let me know. Other than that, hope you all enjoyed this. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.